Greetings to one and all, it's your old buddy Jay here, coming at you with another Countermeasures game changer. Now today I would like to talk about Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Now this game has just released on the 11th of June 2021. It is the follow-up to Ratchet and Clank 2016, the reboot, which I just reviewed. Just realised that I didn't give that one a score, and I do think that that's a solid 8 out of 10, and I'd recommend anybody play that. So switching on to this one, this is the follow-up, like I said, and basically it is developed by Insomniac Games again, published by Sony Interactive Entertainment, and yeah, this is everything that you could possibly want from a sequel. It has more writers, you know, so to name a few: Sam, Mags, Lauren, me. There's many people involved with the story and the writing of this. It has 3 directors: Brian Horton, Marcus Smith, and Mike Daly. Now, those guys obviously are putting a lot more time and a lot more effort into this one. The cinematics are just incredible. I mean, if the last one was like playing a Pixar movie, I don't know what this one is. It's just out of this world, literally on all levels. I would say it varies with some of the high-end Disney films that you see. I mean, it is just incredible. The art direction behind it is absolutely on point. The world building is just amazing. Like the whole, you know, I mean, I always bang on about the main characters in a lot of these games being the world, and they get ignored. And, you know, you've got your sort of protagonists and antagonists, but, you know, a huge character in these games is and with the success of these games is how convincing the world is. And the story behind this is just fantastic. I love Ratchet, obviously. I love Clank, obviously. And in this one, there's, you know, again, I'm not going to get into too many spoilers regarding the story, but a brief version of this is that Clank creates this thing called a Dimensionator as a present for Ratchet. It gets stolen, it explodes, and then there's basically rifts opening between different dimensions, and within those dimensions there's different versions of Ratchet, there's different versions of Clank, all the characters that you kind of got introduced to in the first reboot, and if you're a fan of the franchise long term from, you know, its inception back in 2002, then you will know all these characters very well, like Dr. Nefarious and all of these other characters that play huge parts in the story. They all have counterparts in all of these different rifts that you eventually get to go through. And yeah, the gameplay is excellent as it was in the first one. It's on point, if not better. The animations of the Lombaxes, because you play as Ratchet, but also you play as one of his you know, rift alternatives, which is a girl called Rivet, who's also a Lombax, slightly different color, but again is you know, a good person, but in her reality she's you know, part of a resistance which is fighting against Dr. Nefarious, who's actually won in her world, whereas in Ratchet's he hasn't. So there's a lot of crossover there, which is really, really interesting, where they're discovering things about each other. The art style, like I said, is brilliant. The design of everything is just fantastic. The gameplay jumps from being, you know, again, third-person shooter to the on-rails grinding to you know, riding on the backs of snails over acid pits. You get to visit all of these different planets. You get to fly the you know, whole load of ships, and, you know, it's just really, really, really well done. I love the writing of it all. I love the art style of it all. You know, as I mentioned in my previous review, I regret not playing these sooner. So as soon as, you know, this one came out, I played the first one, really enjoyed it. Played the second one as just, you know, so I've just had like a good solid kind of 50 hours back to back of Ratchet and Clank, and I just can't get enough of these games. I love the way that all the cutscenes are rendered. I love the writing. The writing is just so strong. I would say that you know, the first one already has a kind of bit of a special place in my heart compared to this one, just because it introduces you to everyone. You know, it's the origin stories and all that kind of stuff that you connect to. So I do have a little bit of a soft spot for that one. That's not to say this isn't a good game. This is an excellent game, and once again, the writing caters for young people as well as it caters for, you know, people who are a little bit older like myself, and I just feel that you know, I don't know, how do you market this? You just market it to everybody. It's just, you know, really, really, really great product. And as you can see here, you know, there's bits where you're watching scripted parts, which then flow seamlessly into gameplay, which then flow seamlessly into more cutscenes and more gameplay. I mean, it's just really, really well done. And there's moments where you're on different animals, like you're on the back of a dragon, and then you're on a ship, and you're flying with jet boots, and you're flying with helicopters, and it's just an absolute whirlwind adventure. If you go to the cinema, and if you just went to the cinema and watched just the cinematics of this game, you would have a brilliant time, because the story is just so good, and the finishing and the quality, the writing, like I keep banging on about, is just so good. But then when you couple that with the gameplay, which isn't just thrown in, there's always a weak component in these games, but I am struggling to find one in this game. Again, you go through the whole thing. You've got I'm not going to go into spoilers in the actual story in any way other than what I've just said, because I would really recommend that you play this. And yeah, I just really feel that like they did really well again with the gadgets and the guns. They've kept some of the favorites. They've upgraded new guns that kind of can do some interesting things. There's this whole part where you can now use a Rift tether, and thanks to the PlayStation 5, which is the only console that this is on at the moment, I believe. I don't think it's on PlayStation 4. I think it's just PlayStation 5, because the PS4 couldn't handle what this game is doing. Rather than lassoing something and spinning towards it, you pull the world towards you and everything changes. It's just really well done. And like I said, the finishing of the graphics, the art style, it's the whole package is just absolutely mind-blowing. So that whole tethering process, again, is only something that can be done on modern consoles, as well as a load of other stuff that goes on here. So you're still collecting like bolts and bits of metal, and that becomes your currency. But sometimes when you're you're battling multiple characters and you're smashing up multiple boxes, there's so much stuff swirling around the screen. It's just intense, and maybe you're still fighting and you're still firing your guns and still jumping around and flipping, and then you do this thing which is like a phase shift, which is like the coolest thing I've seen in the game for such a long time. Whereas rather than just kind of skipping left to right, it does like a kind of staggered time of your character, and that's whether you're flipping forward, flipping back, left, right, jumping over stuff. I mean, it's just so well done and so creative. Everything about this game is crafted so carefully and so well. It's a really refreshing game to play, a really strong single player. There's no multiplayer tacked onto this. They haven't split the budget in any way, trying to throw loads of transactions in here, trying to put in loads of loot boxes. It's just a game which is like, here's a really powerful single player game. It's an absolute contender for Game of the Year, without a doubt, hands down. I absolutely love it. I definitely recommend that you play it. I keep saying that over and over, but I'm so excited to see this first-person, first-party game on a PS5, using everything at its disposal for what the PS5 can do. So, like, the quality, the imagery, the gameplay, the seamless 60 frames. You can do. There's a whole load of different various settings. So, like performance, you can have like 30 frames a second at 4K or 60 frames at 4K, and then you've got ray tracing options, and then you've got performance options where you drop the ray tracing, and then you can, you've got all the, the way to sort of speed the game. I mean, there's just a whole load of things to play with. I mean, some of these games used to come out in the old days and it'd be like, this is it, end of story, no messing around. You've got like two options, subtitles on or off, and then that was it. Whereas you go into the settings of these games now, and it's just like mind-blowing. It's like you are playing, it's like PC level of being able to customize it to your own style of gameplay and what you particularly want out of it. And I just think that's excellent. And on a games console as well, you're not talking about a high-end PC that's like £2,000-3,000-4,000 plus everything else that you have to buy, or the other peripherals that you have to buy. You're talking about a console that's like kind of £400 or £500. I mean, I know you can't buy them at the moment, or they're certainly in short supply. So getting them off eBay for £1,000 probably isn't the best ideal. But it's a console in your front room. You can sit on your sofa and play this. And I've also got to give a shout out to the PS5 controller again, because it's just brilliant. They use all of the interactive features on that controller with the built-in speaker, the different pressurized triggers, and the rumbling, obviously, and all that stuff, which has been around for quite a long time, but has been up to another level of interactive gameplay, which I just think is just mind-blowing to me. It was an absolute pleasure to play this game, an absolute pleasure. I mean, even if you're not playing it and you just go on Twitch and watch somebody stream it or whatever, it's just so brilliant. And even the levels where you've got like Clank running around doing all these little kind of problem solving things, while they are still slightly annoying and it takes you out of it just a little bit, they have managed to make those much more engaging and much more fun, and also not as long, and you can also skip them. So they're obviously aware that some people didn't really like those elements and those parts. So hats off to the developers for actually acknowledging what their audience wants. Somebody actually doing something that people want. I mean, what are the chances? So yeah, I can't bang on about this enough. You've got to play it if you can get your hands on it. I'm sure it's obviously full price now, which is a bit of a bummer, because these games on the PS5 are like sort of 60-70 pounds. They've upped the cost. I think they're absolutely worth it, because game prices haven't gone up for years, and now they've gone up by about like £10 a game. Everyone's in uproar about it, but look what you're getting. You're getting so much more than you ever did on anything else. Rewind to 2002, when games were still £40 and £50, and the quality of the games were just nothing. And compared to that, I mean, these games are just absolutely out of this world. So I've got to give this a rating. Now, like I said, I missed my rating on the last one because I was having too much fun doing a review for the first time in ages. So the last one I gave I think I said at the start of this video that it was going to be an 8, possibly. Yeah. Anyway, this one, Rift Apart, is an absolute 10. It's a 10 out of 10, Game of Year contender. It's my favorite game of the year, if not the last several years, because even the depression of playing all of the apocalyptic post-war zombie worlds that I usually get into, leaving me feel a little bit deflated afterwards. Playing this game is just so uplifting and fun. It's something that I would recommend anybody. I mean, just for your own mental health, just play something that's just exciting and interesting and engaging, and just presses the buttons that don't normally get pressed when it comes to these sorts of things, unless you're watching a Disney film. This is essentially like a 20-hour Disney movie, and I'd absolutely recommend that you go for it. So yeah, 10 out of 10, absolutely, with Daddy JJ's badass seal of approval. So that's all I've got to say about this. I hope that you enjoyed the review. Please hit the likes and all that stuff if you've lasted this long. I do really appreciate it. Or check out some of the other videos, because I don't only do game reviews, I do also have a podcast which is linked to this YouTube site, where I talk to other creatives at various different levels. Some people are photographers, some are designers, art directors, all that kind of stuff. I'm about to do a podcast with a guy who is an animator who works on much of this kind of 3D animation, predominantly for advertising, but I think he has done a few short films and things like that. So we're going to find out a lot more about that in the coming weeks, so I hope you like those. And and I do also produce other design films, which are sort of sometimes just brief histories of things I think are significantly interesting in the design world. So whether that's a brief history of video game design or graphic design, or if it's talking about a specific designer in part. I've got one coming up about Vaughan Oliver, which I'm very excited about. And so there's lots going on. And I did one recently which was talking about designing for charities, and I did a whole thing where I was going to the Design Museum, talking about exhibitions and things like that, because I'm now allowed out of the office, which is always a good thing, thanks COVID. Now that's all I would like to say. I guess get your hands on this game, keep looking out for good design stuff, and keep hitting me up if you're interested in this stuff, because I'm really enjoying doing it, and people seem to be liking it, so I'm just going to carry on. So that's all I've got to say about this. So as always, be good, stay safe, and be kind to one another. Cheers.